The next company you sure as heck know. I want to introduce Jeri Ward. Jeri's the Director of Customer Experience for Audi of America, where she builds customer loyalty and ensures that the organization understands and responds to the voice of the customer. Prior to joining Audi, Jeri worked at General Motors and at Ford Motor Company, and at Ford she was the Edge Consumer Marketing Manager. Advertising Age included Ward on their 2009 Women to Watch honoree list of innovative and accomplished female marketeers of the year. Again, she is one of ours. She's a graduate of the M program. She earned both her MBA from Kellogg and her Master's of Engineering Management from McCormick. And she also serves on as a member of the M Program Innovation Council. So, Jeri, welcome. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
I also need to tell you that about 12 o'clock, Jeri sends me an email and she says, I'm in Dallas and they have no idea when the plane is taking off.
Yeah.
And it says, and maybe I'll have to change in the cab or something, but
Yeah.
you put it all together and it's great to have you, Jeri.
Thank you. So I'm glad I made it, yes, and it is great to be back. Actually, Teak and I were in the same year here at Kellogg, so it's always great to come back to campus and share what we've been doing out in the real world. So I'm going to change gears a little bit and actually talk about a bit of a case study in terms of how experience design, behavior design, product design are happening within Audi. I'm not going to get into autonomous vehicles specifically, but a big part of my role is about creating fans for the brand. Do I have any Audi fans in the room currently? A couple? Okay, good. I'm glad to see that. I mean, that is my job. My job, ideally, is to create more and more fans for the brand, current and future. And we've come a long way. I'm going to give you a little bit of a story in terms of the journey of Audi. I think if you look at some of these images, you know, the brand in terms of its products has changed significantly over the last couple decades, right, versus where we were back in the 80s. And this, actually, I picked is actually one of the dealerships we used to have in downtown Chicago, Fletcher Jones, and that's what it looks like today. And so Audi, when I joined the company, was in 2007, and we set out our strategy and our long-term vision to really become the #1 premium brand in automotive. And that means higher price points, better products, growth in sales, all of these things. And we put our plan in place at that time, and I think you can see by these pictures, we made significant progress in those early years by investing in our product portfolio, billions of dollars of product and innovation investment, and then significant investment in our dealer network, because really they are the face of the brand out there in the real world, and I think you can all agree that's much more representative of a premium brand, right? We also made significant investment in our marketing and changed our strategy in marketing. We really focused on big, above-the-line media, Super Bowl, product placement in properties like Iron Man. And the media also started to take notice, and you know, whether it would be head-to-head competitions with the R8 or an RS7, we were winning those and getting the accolades in the media. So all these things by the 2009, 2010 timeframe really started headed in the right direction. But when we took a step back and looked at, okay, what is the next lever we're going to need to pull on our business to really get us to that #1 premium brand status? And one of the things that we recognized is that the customer experience wasn't where it needed to be. And these are just a couple of stats. If you look at RL Polk loyalty, we were at 40%, where a lot of our competitors were much higher. And that number always, you know, I hate that number, because that means, you know, more than half of our customers are not coming back to the brand, right, if our loyalty is below 50%. And then on CSI, which measures sale or service satisfaction, we were 12th out of 30, and on sales satisfaction, we were 26th out of 31. So we had all this demand and these great products, and we're driving people into these brand new showrooms, but then when they got there, they weren't getting the experience that they were expecting. And so this expectation gap is where disappointment or delight can happen, right? If the reality exceeds the expectation, that's where we delight people and create fans, and if we fall short, that's when we have defectors. So in this time frame is actually when we formed the customer experience department, and I moved from being in marketing and strategy to being the director of customer experience. And so the journey I'm going to take you on is a bit of how we've approached customer experience within the company, and we've used a design thinking philosophy in all the change that we've been driving within the firm. Because this is essentially a big change effort. You know, we needed to change from within and across all of our layers within the company, because in a lot of ways my job is B2B just as much as it is B2C, because we have 278 dealer partners across the company that we work with that are independent men and women servicing our customers. And so all of the solutions that we would be developing really needed to live at this, another Venn diagram, at this intersection of meeting customer needs, being beneficial to the brand, and also being beneficial to the dealer. If we didn't hit that sweet spot, then it wasn't going to work, right? Or we weren't really meeting our core objectives. So we tend to use this very iterative, collaborative, you've heard these words from the prior speakers, process, and you know, starting really with discovery and having empathy for the consumer, putting the consumer at the center of what we're doing, so that as we improve the customer experience, we make sure we're not just meeting, but ideally exceeding their expectations. So knowing this as the backdrop, I'm going to give you a couple little case studies of things that we've done over time. And you know, when we formed the department, I like to say, we needed to shift the culture to be outside-in thinking, but we started the work from the inside out. And we started working first on everyone within Audi of America, all of our employees, creating a culture of customer centricity. Our company actually is only 300 people within the United States. I think people don't realize that we're that small. But if you take into account all the employees at all of our dealers, it's over 10,000. So we needed to drive change with Audi of America, our employees, also with that entire dealer network first, before we could really then start to impact the actual end user customer experience. So on that journey, one of the things that we did was first create this center of gravity. And I said our vision is to be #1 premium brand, but our mission is Kundenbegeisterung. Do we have any German speakers in the room? So Kunden is customer, and Begeisterung is inspire delight. So this idea of inspiring customer delight is really what we've put at the center of the company in terms of our mission. And that has really served as sort of the guiding light within the organization in terms of our change that we're trying to drive related to the customer experience. And design played a key role in this. Actually, before I play the video, this video I think kind of brings to life what we mean by KB. So if I say KB, that's my shorthand for Kundenbegeisterung. So with that, let's see if we can get it to play.
Over the last few years, Audi's success is undeniable. The industry has taken note, and consumers are buying more cars than ever before. But none of this matters when almost 60% of our owners choose to leave the Audi brand. It's time for a change. A change in how we see our customers and in how our customers see us. And it's more than a smile. It's more than a handshake. It's more than fresh gourmet coffee waiting in the lobby. This change is Kundenbegeisterung. Translated into English, it means inspiring customer delight. But it's not just another initiative, with boxes to check and customer sat surveys to fill out. KB isn't a policy. It's an emotion. It's a spirit. It's energy. It's a willingness to go above and beyond again. It's passion. It's preparation. It's the precision that it takes to win at Le Mans year after year after year. It's bravery. It's thinking on your feet. It's fearlessly looking at things in new and inventive ways. It's you, it's we, and it starts with trust and respect. It's that 60% of customers coming back to Audi again and again for life. Because we're not just turning a wrench or answering a telephone or filling out a service request. We, all 15,000 of us, have one job: to inspire lifelong fans of the Four Rings.
So that's sort of our internal secret sauce, right? That Kundenbegeisterung, or KB. And a big part of what we realized is that, again, this is a human business. This is a people business. In the end, every day, it's people interacting with people, and whether they're shopping for a car or in a moment of need. And so we really wanted to start from within and rally the organization. And so what we did first was create signifiers of change throughout the organization, get people understanding what it is we're trying to achieve here. This isn't just a hire J.D. Power and have us do some sort of CSI improvement plan. This was an internal rallying cry and change initiative within the organization. We also created a very clear customer experience strategy within the company. So as we got the organization rallied around this idea, we didn't want people going off and then executing against and trying to deliver, the Ritz-Carlton customer experience and the Disney customer experience. It needed to be the specific Audi customer experience that was going to differentiate us in the marketplace. So we defined that for the company. We also then made very clear what our customers' expectations were. There's no shortage of things for us to work on, right? And so we wanted to make sure that the things that we were working on were going to impact the customer in the areas that matter to them most. And so back to that discovery piece, we did a lot of research and engagement with our customers to really understand what their expectations were so that we can ideally meet or exceed those expectations. So this was sort of the starting point. From there, we really started to lay the groundwork of the cultural change. And I'll just touch on a couple of these, but we set off on a tour. The Creating Audi Fans tour was really about inspiring change from a behavior perspective. And so behavior design actually was a big part of the work that we were doing. We found that a lot of the customer experience issues that we had were in those one-to-one interactions. And so the tour that we did actually was 8 cities, 16 shows, touching over 10,000 people across the company with a very inspiring message about the behavior that we're looking to deliver in the customer experience. And we did that through a very unique way and storytelling, very much a TED Talk type of model that sort of laid the groundwork in terms of what we were trying to achieve. We then followed that up with leadership workshops, which was very action-oriented, and we used that design thinking process with actual dealer principals and general managers in workshops in all those cities across the country, and actually did design workshops with them on how they were going to then take that vision and bring it to life within their individual dealerships. And they walked out of there with action plans on changes within their showrooms and in their stores. We also created advocates, so that just not my team of 10 people were doing this. We created advocates across the company as well, and some of those advocates, we formed a customer experience dealer subcouncil and worked with them on piloting a lot of the things that I'll talk about here shortly, because anything else that we brought out, we needed to make sure that it wasn't just created in some conference room. It needed to work in the real world. And so having advocates in the dealer network that we could pilot, test with their staff and with their customers was critical to our long-term success. So this groundwork was fundamental for some of the activities that we're working on now. So now that we get to the point where we're actually now starting to change the customer experience, I'm going to highlight a couple things that we're working on. One is in the area of progressive retail, and I'll just touch on that briefly. But back when we first formed the department, one of the things that we asked for was funding, essentially, from Germany to do a whole project around digitizing the sales and service process. I think you all have your devices, if not on the desk in front of you, very close at hand, right? And so when you go into a dealership, that's not traditionally how it is today, right? And we're working on a whole process of digitizing that whole sales process from before you even walk into the dealership through the sales process, through the service process, and even into repurchase. I'm happy to say that, again, we kicked that off several years ago, and that is rolling out in our dealerships right now. Happy to say that we're ahead of the curve quite a bit on this, and we're working with dealer partners on piloting, whether it's iPads in the sales experience or RFID technology was mentioned, how that can be used in the sales process and the service process, and really reinventing how that will look in the future. So that's something that we definitely have used the design thinking process to bring that to life, because if it doesn't work for the employee and the customer jointly, then it won't be successful. But I guess two others that I'll dig into more specifically is in the area of test drive and delivery, and then also in feedback. So in test drive and delivery, we saw an opportunity specifically when you look at the key moments in the customer journey, and it's a pretty complicated journey. We found that within test drive and delivery specifically, there was a great opportunity to exceed customers' expectations. We looked at the data, customers that took a test drive and those that didn't, but still bought in both cases, huge increase in satisfaction if they took a test drive. And then also on delivery, huge increase in satisfaction if they had the proper amount of time dedicated to that delivery. A big part of that is our customers, they love their cars, right? And that's a distinction, actually. We see a big difference in Audi customers versus some of our competitors in terms of their love of the technology and the drivability and the style of the vehicle. So the more we get people right up front to understand and experience and know all that technology and really have a way of leveraging it, the better their ownership experience starts right from the beginning. So that loyalty starts right from the beginning and has higher satisfaction. So we wanted to crack where are some opportunities where we can amplify that moment of test drive and delivery. Also, we know that there in between is that working out the deal portion that nobody likes, right? And so if we can bookend that experience with a positive first impression and a positive last impression, it leaves that overall impression of the experience much more positive. So we set off to work on those two moments and really connect the consumer with the driver, with their car and with their dealership. And what we did is went and immersed ourselves in the experience. We went and did about 20 test drive alongs, about 36 delivery alongs. We did over 50 stakeholder interviews with employees at various dealerships. We had dealers involved in this. I remember one of the general managers from a dealership in Arizona, we did the workshops in Beverly Hills and in Texas, in North Houston. He actually admitted, he goes, you know what, this is the first time I've taken a test drive and I wasn't trying to sell a car. You know, he was sitting in the back seat observing what was happening with the customer and a sales associate from a different dealership. And it was the first time he'd actually had that experience and not been, you know, in a high pressure sales kind of environment. And he saw the body language of that customer change from the moment when they first got in the car and it was just, this isn't the dealer's A5, to going through the experience and falling in love with that car. And by the time they got out of that test drive, they were like, I don't want you to let anybody else test drive this car because this is the one I want to take home today. You know, and so seeing that change in the customer was really eye-opening for him. And I think you heard earlier that human-centric design, really understanding human behavior and what's happening. You can't read that in a report from NVES or GFK or some syndicated study. You see that in the real world. And so that's been a big difference in terms of how we've approached changing the customer experience, is really getting out there, seeing it in the real world, and coming up with solutions that, again, meet those customer needs. So, and the other thing we learned is it's not just about the drive. People would show up at the dealership with luggage. You know, they fly out of town every Monday and fly back on Friday, and they wanted to make sure that their luggage was going to fit into whatever car that they bring home, right? Or they want to make sure the car seats fit in the car. So making sure that the experiences we design are ones that take into account the holistic test drive experience. We also had a lot, we found that having organizational collaboration involved from the onset is really critical, because it's one thing for my team to go off and do this and then come back and publish a report, but it's something else to have all the different stakeholders involved. So people from the after-sales team, which manages the service process, or the sales operations team that manage incentives and sales programs, or product delivery to the dealerships. Having all those people involved from the beginning then gets buy-in throughout the entire process, and then they feel much more bought in and personal ownership to making sure that whatever we deliver is a success in the end. These are examples of some of the workshops. This is a dealer. We do, after doing all the test drives and the shop-alongs with people, came back and started ideating on solutions and came up with a wide variety of things. Now, again, back to that process, we would expand and contract and test and iterate, and ultimately land on some specific solutions. I think also where design comes in is in that iterative process. We would come up with various designs, test them with consumers and with dealers, starting with very low fidelity prototypes, then moving to more high fidelity prototypes, and getting feedback and iterating along the way. And that was critical versus having, coming up with a single solution, massive development and costs involved, rolling it out, and then having it fall on its face, and then you'd start all over again from square one. We were able to evolve things over time, get to market faster, make changes, and have positive impact that people felt bought into and ownership of. So just a couple examples of what we're doing. So coming out of the test drive and delivery exploration in particular, these crafted moments really came to light. And like I said, this is a people business, and what we found was that there's some specific behaviors that were really lacking that we were trying to drive. And simple things like being greeted promptly, simple things like making sure that the test drive was tailored to them versus tailored to what the salesperson wanted to talk about, and so these behaviors are what we really realized we needed to change. And we've also found that to change behaviors, it's much more effective if there's something tangible that goes along with it, because that tangible thing is a constant visual reminder that you need to do something different, versus we could have gone out and just created some sort of class that then we, a webcast or a webinar, and asked people now to greet everyone in less than 5 seconds, right? But that wasn't, the turnover in our dealerships, you're just kind of hoping that something is going to happen versus, putting a tool out there that ensures that it will happen. So some of the tools that we actually came up with through that whole design process to change behaviors are really simple things, but what's great is they're working. So something as simple as we put in place a key box that your keys now get presented to you in this box, much like, some people, it's like, to them it feels like they're getting a Tiffany's, diamond ring or something. But, in the past, what would happen is, the salesperson might fish out of their desk drawer some keys all tied together on a tie strap, and they get pushed across the desk, and it's like, all right, there you go, there's your $90,000 car that you just bought, So something as simple as now putting these keys into the box, it's done several things. One, the salesperson is now ready and prepared for that customer to come through the door. They know what they're buying, they're prepping it, putting it all together. Now they're actually doing things like greeting the customer at the door. They're so excited to present them with this key box. Or they're creating these moments where we have customers that, they're buying a car for their daughter or their husband or something, and they're wrapping this up and putting it under the tree at Christmas time. Or they stage the car out front and have it all ready for the customer, and they have the key box ready and waiting for them on the driver's seat so that they can walk the customer over there and introduce them to it. So it's a simple thing, but it's changing the behaviors and creating the experience that we're trying to design at retail. Something also just simple is, a personalized tag. How many times have you gone to a dealership and seen sold? That's the dealer checking a box, right? It's almost like versus Ryan, it's about the customer, and it's about, you know, and on a Saturday, we might deliver 50 cars in a day. It's like, well, which one's mine, you know? And it's like, it's really nice to see that personalized, and it makes it a crafted moment for the customer. This one on the test drive is something that we have a great heritage in motorsports, in Le Mans racing, and we have an Audi test drive, or I should say an Audi driving experience out at Sonoma Raceway out in California, where you can drive R8s and RS5s on the track. So if you want to do that, you just look up our website. But one thing that we've found is that, back to that test drive experience, it feels to consumers more like a driving test than a driving experience. And so what we've done is started to shift that experience, and we're actually renaming it even the Audi driving experience, and bringing some of those elements of motorsports into the experience. And this is a fitting guide that allows the sales associate with the customer to fit the car specific to them, because you can actually get a better driving experience if you have your foot at the right distance from the pedal, and your elbow should have a slight break in it, and your wrist should be at the top of the steering wheel. And you know, it gives you tips and how to get the most out of your car from a performance perspective, but also a safety perspective. And then the customer feels like it's fitted specifically to them. So just simple examples like that, that we're trying to change that experience and create a much more custom crafted moment for the consumer at retail. So you can ask all kinds of questions about that in Q&A if you like. But the next one that I wanted to highlight is something that's a bit of work in progress, but may seem odd to use the design philosophy on, but it's on feedback. And we fundamentally believe that the whole feedback process is broken, especially in automotive. And you know, if you think about it, we live in this completely over-surveyed world right now. You go to CVS and buy a pack of gum, and they want you to fill out a survey at the bottom of the receipt, right? So we set out to see what can we do differently to really start to have a dialogue with our customers and really understand what is going to create fandom, and understand, you know, how they can engage with us and give us feedback in a truly authentic way. Because right now it's riddled with coaching and you know, just put all 10s and move on, right? So we want to make feedback part of the experience, where right now in a lot of ways it either detracts from the experience or it looks back on it after the fact and you reflect on it, versus it actually being an integrated aspect of the experience and ideally even enhancing your engagement with the brand. And so we actually went in with some hypotheses. We tested a lot of things with consumers. We talked to consumers. We've talked to dealers. Those dealers on that sub-council have been critical in our work on this. And at one point, we even said to consumers, what if we just completely eliminate surveys? You know, wouldn't that be great? We're your progressive brand. We're going to just let you tell us when you want to tell us something. And they're like, whoa, 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 you know, I spent a lot of money on this car, and I'm going to own it for a long period of time, so I want to give you feedback. I want to be engaged and feel like I can influence what my experience with the Audi brand is going to be like. Not to mention, you know, I've seen this brand improve over the years. I feel like I'm a part of that. I want to continue to be a part of that, and I want to give feedback going forward. So we use design quite a bit in the learning process. We came up with a lot of different ideas and hypotheses and built out different design concepts and tested those with consumers. You know, there's so much interest in gamification and everything right now, right? So we thought, well, could we sort of gamify this whole feedback experience and make it fun and engaging? And it wasn't until we built out various designs and actually put it in front of people that we started to get that real authentic feedback, where we heard, okay, this is a little too playful. You know, we're like, we want you to take our feedback seriously. We need to know that this isn't a game for you guys. We want to know that this is serious business, and you're going to listen to what we say. So by putting design out there and giving people things to react to, we've been able to learn a lot about how they want to engage with us and give us feedback going forward. We joke we did feedback on feedback. You know, we've done focus groups and talked to consumers, and by having them engage with the different prototypes and that we've built, we've been able to really hone this process and get a more authentic, we think, tool that will be able to be used to gather feedback going forward. And we've done, I think, we have an Inner Circle loyalty program where there's a group of owners that give us feedback online through like an online community. So we started with them. Then we've also done small focus groups. And now we're moving into the phase where we actually will then pilot and put things out there for consumers to work on specifically. And then collaboration, I think back to that whole design thinking process, collaboration has really been key for us because, again, back to, if my team goes into a vacuum and just goes and works on this for 3-6 months and comes back, then it just feels like to the rest of the organization we're throwing something over the wall to the rest of them. So it's been key that we have all of our stakeholders involved throughout. And this is actually an image of our Chief Operating Officer, our head of product design, our head of after sales, and they're all customers of this feedback, right? So we need to make sure that whatever we're gathering is going to be useful for all these other departments as well. They tie different contests and programs to it. They use it for continuous improvement and continuous development of programs that they're launching within their departments. So by having them involved in the process has been critical. The other thing I will say is the whole collaboration process is also key in terms of having them come to same conclusions as my team might be coming to, but doing that in an interactive way. And I don't mean leading the witness. What I mean is we're so close to it as a team that, we come to these conclusions and it seems so obvious to us, but until the dealers or some of our colleagues go through that same process, it doesn't necessarily click and become as obvious to them. So by having them go through design exercises, and this was an exercise to really sort through what are those core questions we have to ask every single customer that we have to have an answer to, versus what are some of the just variable or diagnostic things. And when we started this exercise, they had about 26 sticky tabs up in the core. And by the end, we had like 3. And by going through that approach, we were able to get them to think through what was really critical and what could be optional. I will tell you that we're in the process right now of piloting some things in this area, and like I said, test and learn and iterate is really been critical to us in this whole process. So I just took a couple case studies to show you what we've been working on, but what I think the numbers is what we're very proud of is it's working. If you look at how our performance in customer experience has changed over the last several years, this is data at 2014 year end. We've gone from 12th to 2nd in CSI, which is our service satisfaction. We've gone from 26th to 9th in sales satisfaction, and our loyalty is an all-time high of 46%. Still not above 50 yet, which is what I would love for it to be, but we're headed in the right direction. And I think, again, it's because not just my department is working on this, we are sort of the North Star and guiding the rest of the organization, but everyone is embracing Kuhn and Begeisterung. They're all using these design thinking principles so that we can design experiences at retail and from the brand that are really based in the consumer's needs, the brand's needs, and the dealer's needs. So just my last slide is, in conclusion, I think this whole idea of collaboration is so powerful to really get organizational alignment and get people headed in the right direction. I think a key part for us, engaging consumers and the business partners is really what helps shape the right solutions. And the third point about designing moments that both work for the customers and for those that deliver them is key. For us in this B2B type of world, if we can create a moment where the sales associate is a hero, they're going to want to do those activities, and they're going to change those behaviors because they want to from within versus because we told them to in some sort of course that they looked at on an online video. And I think using design in really unexpected places, whether it be in research or in feedback and things like this, can really start to change the experience and change mindsets also within the company. So thank you very much for your time, and happy to talk later.